It's 1984, the All-Valley Karate Championships are just about wrapping up with a thrilling final between two-time champion Johnny Lawrence and Miyagi-Do newcomer Daniel LaRusso. Daniel wins, landing a crane kick to the face of Lawrence. He falls to the mat, and 34 years later, he finds himself in a similar position, down on his luck, no longer the cool rich boy we knew in the 80s. He's an alcoholic, living in a small apartment in a bad part of town. He brushes off his new neighbour, Miguel Diaz. Miguel has just moved there with his mother and grandmother, and has proven himself a quite socially awkward nerd. Johnny meanwhile goes to work. He's a handyman, but gets fired after getting into an argument with a client. That evening, Miguel accidentally reveals some kids in his year are underage, as they are trying to buy alcohol. They push him around and into Johnny's car. Johnny doesn't take too kindly to that, beating them up, and eventually gets arrested. The next morning, Miguel asks Johnny to teach him karate, connecting with Johnny a little, as both their fathers were not the best. In fact, Johnny's stepfather bailed him out and gave him a check, trying to buy him out of his life. He rips up the check and goes drink driving after seeing LaRusso auto ads everywhere. He stops at the All-Valley Sports Arena, where his car is smashed into by a group of teenagers. They drive off and his car is sent to LaRusso Auto for repairs. Trying to get it transferred, he bumps into Daniel, claiming his crane kick was illegal after a joke from Daniel. Daniel offers to do the repairs for free, but Johnny storms out, seeing his daughter was one of the teens from the night before who crashed into his car. He decides to cash in his check and open up Cobra Kai once again, accepting Miguel's offer of being his sensei. Daniel's life these days are the exact opposite of Johnny's. He's a successful business owner, rich and happy, with his wife Amanda and two kids, Sam and Anthony. However, his world is about to change for the worse, as on his way to work, he sees Cobra Kai has opened back up in the valley. Inside, during Miguel's first lesson, a health inspector arrives, informing Johnny he needs to fix the place up before he can open officially. Daniel's kids are simply spoiled. Sam uses her status to try and become popular, having a party at her house, but it gets shut down with Daniel embarrassing her. Daniel is struggling with his kids growing up. When she was little, he used to teach Sam karate, but that was no more. Trying to make it up to her, he invites her boyfriend around for dinner, Kyla. One of the boys, Johnny, beat up. He reveals this upon Daniel's questioning. Meanwhile, Johnny gets Miguel to clean the dojo up, and he meets some friends at school, Eli and Dimitri. Daniel goes to the dojo to confront Johnny, but nothing more than an argument occurs. Miguel has been lying to his mother about karate, as she disapproves of violence. As for Johnny, he needs more students to pay the rent, making a bunch of flyers and sending them around town. It's Halloween and the school has a Halloween dance, of which Daniel offers to chaperone after getting the wrong idea from some texts sent to Sam from Kyla. Before the dance, Johnny takes Miguel to the pool after school for some Cobra Kai kicking lessons, and then gets him a new costume after seeing the one his grandmother had made him. At the dance, Johnny sticks up more flyers and is caught by Daniel looking for Sam. Kyla reveals he was just giving Sam a present, but Miguel and friends hear him talking about only wanting one thing from Sam. Eli and Dimitri run away and Miguel gets beaten up once again, with Johnny finding him and taking him home, his mum not too happy. Johnny has a son, Robbie, who lives with his mum. He's skipping school and getting involved with some dodgy people, stealing and messing around. He finds a Cobra Kai flyer, seeing his dad. Meanwhile, with Miguel no longer allowed to do karate, Johnny gets drunk and leaves a surprise on a LaRusso Auto billboard. Sam finally realizes what a jerk Kyla is, seeing him bully Miguel and Eli, and after seeing his intentions with her up close, dumps him. Johnny talks to his ex-wife, feeling regret for not being there for Robbie. He decides to not lose his second chance with Miguel, being allowed to train him once again. Daniel finds out it was Johnny who vandalized his billboard, finding flyers up there. Johnny has to sublet the dojo until he gets more students, and as payback, Daniel tricks Armand, a property owner in the valley and owner of the strip mall where Cobra Kai is located, into upping the rent. Johnny gets his second student, Aisha, an old friend of Sam's who now gets bullied by her new friends. Kyla has been spreading rumours about what Sam and he got up to at the theatre, with Miguel standing up to him, this time coming out on top, fighting him and his mates. Johnny gives Miguel the gi he used when training for his first tournament, and Robbie turns away, jealous of not receiving his father's attention. Daniel is missing Mr. Miyagi, and Robbie gets a job at LaRusso Auto to make his dad jealous. Cobra Kai gets tons of new students after Miguel's display, and Daniel decides to clear out his old dojo, wanting to find balance once again. 1979 was the year Johnny first joined Cobra Kai. He was bullied as a kid, and Kreese helped him, as he would put it, turn him into a badass. Back in present day, Johnny offends everyone in the dojo, calling them nerds and making fun of insecurities. Since the fight, Kyla now avoids Miguel. Meanwhile, Robbie gets pranked by Daniel's cousin at the dealership, walking out angry before Daniel calms him down and convinces him to stay. After another prank, Daniel decides to train Robbie and help him. Johnny's class is significantly smaller after the bullying, but Eli comes back, renamed as Hawk, after Johnny's advice of flipping the script. Using chores around the dealership, Daniel has fun teaching Robbie karate, the Miyagi way. However, his so-called friends want Robbie to help them break in and steal parts from the dealership. Miguel takes Johnny's advice in striking first and striking hard by asking Sam out, with Johnny getting Cobra Kai unbanned from the All Valley tournament, despite Daniel's interference. Robbie refuses to help his old friends, and Sam shows off a few of her own moves. Johnny finds out Miguel's new girlfriend is Sam, Daniel's daughter, and tells him about how Daniel stole Ali from him, messing with him all year, eventually winning the All Valley tournament. Knowing her father would disapprove, Sam wants Miguel to change dojos, but he's close to Johnny, and Johnny's wanting to get his act together for Miguel. Robbie meets Sam before a lesson with Daniel, showing an interest. Meanwhile, Johnny gives his stepfather the money from the check back, and Miguel decides to introduce himself to the LaRussos, finding Robbie having dinner with them, assuming the worst. Johnny finds Louis and others smashing up his car and setting it on fire, in retaliation for the billboard vandalization. Angry, he goes to find Daniel. Before they fight, Amanda stops them, inviting Johnny in for breakfast and a talk. Johnny tells them about Sam's hit and run, and Daniel gives him a new car. Sam's grounded, and Miguel gets annoyed with her ghosting him. Daniel and Johnny, however, start to bond a little, realizing neither of them had a great start in life, both without a father and both bullied, eventually talking about Ali. The Cobra Kai students gatecrash a party, and Miguel gets drunk. Robbie helps Sam get out of being grounded, going to the party. Miguel goes to punch Robbie as he's jealous, instead accidentally hitting Sam. Daniel and Johnny, both drunk, go back to Daniel's dojo, finding Robbie. Johnny's angry at Daniel for this, and Daniel angry at Robbie, both believing they were being used or attacked in some way because of the betrayal. Johnny arrives late to the tournament, teaching his students the final lesson of no mercy. Robbie enters the tournament last minute under no dojo. Miguel is trying to win back Sam as he makes the semi-final along with Hawk, Robbie, and last year's champion, Xander. Hawk is disqualified after cheating against Robbie. Daniel decides to help him, telling him his father had a bad teacher, but he doesn't have to be the same. He doesn't even have to win the tournament. Sam leaves before the final, and Daniel calls a medic. Robbie wins the first point. Second and third goes to Miguel, aiming for Robbie's shoulder. Robbie refocuses with Daniel's help, using a two-legged kick to win the next point. Diaz pulls on Robbie's shoulder when he helps him up. As this happens, Johnny gets flashbacks to when Kreese told his students to win at all costs, cheating if needs be. Diaz eventually wins and Johnny apologizes to his son, with Daniel congratulating him on his win, but he feels like he really lost. After the tournament, Sam enters the dojo for the first time in years, as Daniel takes Robbie to Miyagi-Do, planning on opening it back up so Cobra Kai doesn't win. Meanwhile, Johnny is at the dojo drinking with the trophy when he hears someone enter. Kreese is back. Kreese has been away a long time, with Johnny believing he was dead. They fight, but they're both pretty even, with Johnny being the younger of the two, but Kreese being the one that taught him everything he knows. Johnny gave up his advantage, remembering how Kreese treated him, showing mercy. Daniel, however, is spending the time showing Robbie the original Miyagi-Do chores and fixing the place up as they go. Sam blocks Miguel, and Hawk and Dimitri grow apart, as it's clear Hawk no longer wants to be the nerd anymore, but the bully. Johnny meets with Kreese after a meal with Miguel's mum to hear him out, and Robbie makes a remark that makes Daniel question whether Mr. Miyagi would approve of what he's doing. Wanting Miguel to be better than he ever was, Johnny criticizes the class for cheating and attacking when the opponent is weak, with Kreese eventually apologizing to Johnny, giving him his second place trophy he broke all those years ago. Robbie's mum is going off with another boyfriend to Mexico for 2 weeks, meaning he's alone in the apartment. Johnny allows Kreese to observe his classes, but is embarrassed by his students' immaturity. To correct this, he decides to teach them a lesson, using cement to teach them to keep moving forward in life. Daniel is losing staff meanwhile, as he's spending so much time at the dojo, teaching Robbie and Sam the wheel technique. They're getting closer as they spend so much time together, but Sam's worried about him, telling Daniel. He offers Robbie a place to stay until his mother returns. Kreese is slowly gaining Johnny's trust, and they are confronted by Daniel, who came to talk to Johnny about Robbie. Kreese makes a remark about Mr. Miyagi, and Daniel leaves, seeing Johnny is still under Kreese's control. Miguel drops some food off for Johnny, finding a picture of a young Robbie on his fridge, realizing it's his son. Johnny finds the internet for the first time. He's a bit of a caveman, not even knowing what Facebook is. Whilst on YouTube, he gets an ad for Miyagi-Do karate. Daniel has a dig at Cobra Kai and offers free lessons. However, he's still struggling to get new students, as they think he just wants some chores done for him. Johnny decides to make his own ad and is questioned by Diaz and Hawk about Robbie. He says that just because he's his son, it doesn't affect his teaching and training. He takes Diaz aside and says he wants him to be better than he ever was. At Valleyfest, Daniel's doing a demonstration, showing what Miyagi-Do karate can offer, but is gatecrashed by Cobra Kai. Dimitri, after seeing the demo, returns to Cobra Kai, meeting Kreese and ultimately wishing he hadn't. Daniel takes a new approach, looking to target the parents, fixing up his old car and going for a trip down by the sea. Among some of the new recruits for Cobra Kai is Tori, with a Y, who already has some combat training. Johnny feels something off about Kreese, following him, finding him staying at a shelter and deciding to give him a proper second chance. At the beach club, Amanda's purse goes missing. Robbie, being a previous employee who we assume was part of a con, helping his old friends back then, finds their stash being knocked out. Aisha invites Tori to the club and Sam accuses her of taking the purse after she stole some alcohol. She gets pushed over, however, starting a fierce rivalry. Daniel jumps down to save Robbie, getting it on video, but decides to not post it as Mr. Miyagi would not approve. However, they gain one more student that day, Dimitri. Dimitri is an awful student, constant complaining, lack of interest and laziness. Meanwhile, Kreese tells Johnny it looks bad that his son is with Miyagi-Do. He should try and get him back. Dimitri leaves a bad review for Cobra Kai, leading to Hawk going after him, but he is protected by Sam and Robbie, who have mastered the will technique. Tori and Diaz get close, but he's still obsessed over Sam, but she and Robbie have gotten close over the summer, almost kissing. Convinced by Kreese, Hawk takes revenge by trashing the Miyagi-Do dojo, stealing Mr. Miyagi's Medal of Honor. Daniel argues with Johnny, but both refuse to make the first move, Johnny saying he'll be the better man. Johnny wants answers from his students. He wants to know who trashed Miyagi-Do, punishing them until the culprit gives in, with Kreese telling Hawk to keep quiet. Johnny gets a call, however. An old Cobra Kai friend, Tommy, is terminally ill and wants to live one last time, going for a camping trip with the rest of the Cobra Kai gang. He dies in his sleep after reminding Johnny to live his life and that time is on his side. Kreese meanwhile reinforces this idea of no mercy and family. The fact that each student should stick up for one another no matter what. Daniel's new students that left Cobra Kai after the confrontation don't get on with his current students until he reveals his story of being an ex-Cobra Kai student himself. Kreese pays a visit to Daniel, telling him a war is coming. He then convinces Johnny to take the dojo to Coyote Creek, a game really, team versus team. Meanwhile, Daniel teaches his students to adapt to their environment, with Dimitri finally making some progress. Amanda isn't happy with Daniel as the dojo has become his #1 priority, and Sam and Robbie finally kiss. Johnny noticed Diaz changing even more, showing no mercy, no holding back. Fearing for his student, he tells Kreese to leave, and Diaz, collecting the Medal of Honor from Hawk, returns it, giving it to Robbie, who doesn't tell Sam, dropping it in the dojo instead. Johnny's getting closer to Carmen, Diaz's mum, having dreams about her and eventually threatening her new boyfriend after finding out he's a jerk anyway. He tells his class that the Cobra Kai creed is wrong. Sometimes you can show mercy. There is honor in that. Diaz sets him up for online dating. He meets a bunch of women, including the client that got him fired, but eventually goes home and asks Carmen out. Not before accidentally sending a message to Ali using Facebook. Tori clearly sees that Miguel still likes Sam, despite being with her, furthering their rivalry as Daniel finally makes it up to Amanda. Robbie's mum is back in town and apologizes to him. She's going to rehab whilst he stays with the LaRussos and goes to school. Johnny and Carmen go out for dinner, Daniel and Amanda being seated next to them. After a while they start to bond over issues with the waitress, even making jokes about their fights, and Johnny tells Daniel that Kreese is gone. It's going to be a new Cobra Kai. Meanwhile, Moon throws a party, with Sam beating Tori at a drinking game and whilst drunk kisses Miguel. Dimitri embarrasses Hawk in front of everyone after receiving further abuse, but eventually the cops come, shutting down the party. Sam apologized to Diaz and she's told he gave Robbie the Medal of Honor. During their kiss, Tori sees. Robbie takes Sam to Johnny's apartment as she doesn't want her parents to see her this drunk. Johnny lets them stay the night, but his door is kicked down by Daniel, demanding to know where Sam is. They fight but are broken up by Robbie and Sam. Daniel takes Sam home, but Robbie stays with Johnny as Daniel wants to focus on his own family. Tori meanwhile hasn't been seen since the party and isn't responding to anyone. Johnny takes Robbie to school and he tells Sam that he was given the medal, wanting to start their relationship telling the truth. During lessons, Tori hijacks the announcements, telling Sam she's coming for her. They meet and start fighting in the corridor, and soon the rest of Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai join in. Dimitri defeats Hawk, Sam eventually defeats Tori when she takes things too seriously. However, after Miguel, following Johnny's advice, shows mercy to Robbie, he gets kicked over the edge of the top floor, landing on his back. Robbie runs off and Carmen blames Johnny for everything. Amanda tells Daniel that there's to be no more karate, as it's only brought pain to everyone's lives. Drinking, Johnny returns to his dojo, finding Kreese back, revealing he now owns the dojo, and the students blaming Johnny for Miguel's loss join him. Johnny leaves, continuing to drink, throwing his phone away without realizing that Ali has just sent a friend request, despite his awful message.